So the first thing that we have to talk about today is Zion Williamson, because there's been a heck of a lot of buzz going on surrounding Zion Williamson, even in the NBA world right now. And I know that I normally try and keep things NBA related, so I don't really talk about up and coming prospects. I don't really talk about what's going on in the NCAA for the most part on this channel. It's strictly NBA related. But this case is different because, like I alluded to, this topic of Zion Williamson kind of does relate to the NBA. And by now I'm sure all of you know who Zion Williamson is. He's a college basketball player that plays for Duke, a Duke team that is apparently devouring the NCAA right now because of how stacked that team is by not only having Zion Williamson but also having RJ Barrett as well. And what's scary is there's a legitimate debate as to who is better between Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett, and both those guys are on Duke right now. And not to mention there's a third guy as well named Cam Reddish, who was also pretty good but just not in the same conversation as Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett at the moment. I mean, Duke right now has 3 guys on their team who look like they're going to go top 5 in the upcoming draft. To put that in perspective for people like me who don't really follow the NCAA as much, think of if LeBron James went to college and he, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony were all on the same collegiate team. That's pretty much what's going on right here. Anyways, the hype around Zion Williamson and those other 2 guys as well has been building up ever since they played their first game of the season for the Duke Blue Devils a couple of nights ago. And I think the hype might have reached a peak yesterday when head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, went out of his way to say that he believes Zion Williamson is the second coming of LeBron James.
Saw some kid on Duke last night who was pretty impressive. My goodness, I probably can't say anything more or mention his name.
The bigger one or the thinner one?
Well,
which one?
Lots of them. Lots. No, the one who's 285. I thought LeBron was. I thought that was a one guy, one shot deal. But apparently the next guy's coming. And before I get fined, I'm going to change the subject.
The question was about Giannis. It wasn't about you.
I dug my own grave.
Just make sure we're clear on that.
Adam, please don't find me.
And you already know why Steve Kerr is making this comparison. It's because, first of all, Zion Williamson is a complete freak of nature. A freak of nature that we haven't seen in the NBA besides LeBron James. The kid is a 6'7", 6'8", 285-pound freight train that's still agile, can shoot, he's strong, and not to mention he can jump out of this world. Like, imagine a bit of a bigger LeBron James, but with the hops of Zach LaVine. That doesn't sound fair, does it? And it's not. So that's why he's drawing comparisons already to LeBron James. And I just want to point out the fact now that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to have a top 5 pick in this year's draft, meaning that it's a very strong possibility that Zion Williamson could end up with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, regardless of how you might feel about that, let's not acknowledge the fact that if that happens, the comparisons between Zion Williamson and LeBron James will be out of this world. But that's why you guys already know that I don't like placing these high of expectations or comparing a prospect like Zion Williamson to an NBA great. It's not fair because we're expecting them to live up to the expectations that we place on them. We don't hear Zion Williamson coming out and saying, yes, I am the next LeBron James. If that were the case, then yeah, hold on to that. But he's not saying it, we're saying it. So Steve Kerr, I'm gonna need you to pump your brakes just a little bit. The guy just played his first college game, so we definitely can't be out here proclaiming him as the next LeBron James. That being said, Steve Kerr wasn't the only member of the Warriors who was giving us one of his hot takes yesterday, as Stephen Curry said something pretty interesting himself too. As Stephen Curry, in preparation for tonight's Milwaukee Bucks vs Golden State Warriors game, was asked what does he think about the Milwaukee Bucks now that they've taken the league by storm and have emerged as a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference. And he compared the success that they're having so far this season to the success that the Warriors found when they replaced Mark Jackson with Steve Kerr.
Very similar to 4 years ago here. Change of scenery sometimes helps, and you get a little boost of energy, a little shift in focus and perspective, and that little bit of difference can unlock something. So, like you said, it's still early. They're taking care of business like they should. It's important when you have that much potential to get off to a good start. season will shape out as it's supposed to.
Oh, that's great stuff, Curry. I like that you're giving props to Milwaukee, and we'll come back to them in a second, but I have to address what he said at the very end there first. When he said, but the season will play out as it's supposed to. So basically, he was like, yeah, you know, Milwaukee's nice. They're developing real nice. They got a new coach. Things are going really good for the Milwaukee Bucks right now. They remind me of us 4 years ago. Too bad we're not the same team from 4 years ago. Too bad that there's still not another team in the league that's on our level. So, you know what? The season's still going to play out as it's supposed to. We're still going to win another championship this year. That's pretty much what Stephen Curry said. And I mean, that very well could be true, but why did you have to add that in there? Why not just let the fans live in denial that the Warriors aren't about to three-peat this year? Why not let us be happy with other teams having success without having to rain down on them with your own level of success? And saying this just made me remember that the Warriors still haven't even used DeMarcus Cousins yet. I completely forgot again that DeMarcus Cousins was on the Warriors. I think me constantly forgetting that is my brain's way of trying to block out the tragedy that I went through when I found out that DeMarcus Cousins had signed with the Warriors in the first place. It's like when you have a bad memory, you try and suppress it, but then it comes back to life, and all of a sudden you're hit with a huge dose of reality that this is actually reality, and that no team in the NBA, I don't think, can compete with the lineup of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins. The rest of the league was just starting to catch up to the Warriors, and then they added DeMarcus Cousins. That's tough. So thanks, Curry, for reminding me of that. I owe you one. That being said, let's pretend like that didn't happen and talk about the Bucks for a second here. The coaching change from Jason Kidd, and then the interim head coach they had after they fired Jason Kidd midway through last season, to now having Mike Budenholzer, that's night and day different. That's been such a huge upgrade for Milwaukee. And that's also why it's so frustrating to see some of these other very talented teams out there struggle because of their coach. Who knows how great a team like Oklahoma City Thunder could be, or even the Washington Wizards could be, if they had a halfway competent coach. Especially you, Washington, because you mean to tell me that you have John Wall and Bradley Beal, plus a slew of other good players such as Otto Porter Jr., Markieff Morris, Dwight Howard is playing again, Kelly Oubre Jr., and Austin Rivers is solid off the bench. You have all of these pieces, all of this talent, and you're on the level as the Cleveland Cavaliers? You're worse than Chicago Bulls? You're worse than the Orlando Magic? You're worse than the Atlanta Hawks? Nah, something ain't right there. You gotta fire that coach. Anyways, that does it for all the main topics that we gotta talk about from yesterday. So now let's take a look at the games from last night. Derrick Rose strikes again. This is the second game that he has played since he went off for 50 points against the Jazz like last week. And in both the games since, he has still played really well. He had 31 points last night, including hitting 7 of his 9 3-point attempts. And by the way, this isn't prime D Rose. It's more like he reinvented himself and is still talented enough to go out there and drop 20 plus points on any given night. Regardless of Rose's great night though, it was the Lakers who were able to get the 114-110 win. Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James, Brandon Ingram each scoring at least 20 points, while Josh Hart also had 21 off the bench. The Toronto Raptors win again, this time beating the Kings 114-105. Tough couple of games for Sacramento as they had to play the Bucks and then the Raptors. That's real tough. Kawhi Leonard returned last night though after sitting out the Raptors' last 2 games. He scored 25 points and grabbed 11 rebounds. The Pelicans needed to play against a team like Chicago yesterday. They were on a 6-game losing streak and really needed a team like the Bulls to come their way. 107-98 the final score here. Anthony Davis finally looked like himself again yesterday with a monster game of 32 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 blocks. Despite Victor Oladipo's season high 36 points, the Pacers still followed the Sixers 100-94. Ben Simmons with a near triple-double of 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. Also, still waiting for Miles Turner to show that he's worth the contract that Indy just gave him. Sometimes Nikola Jokic has a problem where he can be too passive and not aggressive enough looking for his own offense. This was more of a case last year than this year, but it happened again last night as he only attempted 1 shot the entire game, and the Nuggets lose to the Grizzlies 89-87. The rookie that almost no one talks about, Jaren Jackson Jr., continues his quietly good rookie campaign with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. And the Spurs lose their second game in a row, this time to the Miami Heat 95-88. Hassan Whiteside with a monster game, 29 points, 20 rebounds, and 9 blocks. Like I said, Zion Williamson very well could end up on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then after that, the LeBron James comparisons will really be there, as the Cavs lose again. This time it was to the Thunder, who were without Russell Westbrook, but Dennis Schroeder did step in and step up, scoring 28 points to get OKC the 95-86 win. The Pelicans weren't the only team to snap their losing streak though, as the Jazz also snapped their 4-game losing streak against the Mavericks, 117-102. Donovan Mitchell returned last night after sitting out Utah's last game with a sore ankle. He scored 23 points to go along with 7 assists. Just like the Jazz and the Pelicans, the Pistons also snapped their losing streak yesterday against the Orlando Magic, 103-96. Andre Drummond had a great night, scoring 23 points and grabbing 19 rebounds. And lastly, the Knicks beat the Hawks. Tim Hardaway Jr. continues his great personal start to the season with another 30-point game, this time scoring 34, 112-107, the final score. And that is going to bring us to the player of the day, where you guys can vote for who you think was the best player in the NBA last night by clicking the little eye icon in the top right-hand corner of the video. Just remember though, that only players whose team won are eligible to win player of the day, and here are your 5 nominees for today. We have Anthony Davis and his 32 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 blocks. Hassan Whiteside and his 29 points, 20 rebounds, and 9 blocks. LeBron James and his 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Andre Drummond and his 23 points and 19 rebounds, or Tim Hardaway Jr. and his 34 points. Like I said, you guys can submit your vote by clicking the little eye icon at the top right-hand corner of the video. And yesterday, you guys of course selected CJ McCollum and his 40 points as your player of the day. That is going to do it for everything that we had to talk about today though, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel with post notifications turned on. Ring that bell so you don't miss out on more daily NBA videos. Thank you once again for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, but that being said, until tomorrow, I'm out of here. Peace!